Well, there you have it, and trust me, these challenges are still with us, and we have joined us in the studio the Honorable Minister of Water Resources in person of Engineer Suleiman Adamu. You're welcome to our studios.
Good morning.
Good morning, welcome, sir.
Morning.
I'm sure we're going to be talking in details about how we can provide lasting solutions to some of these challenges. Some say the perfect and lasting solution to water challenge in Nigeria lives only in documents and PowerPoint presentations. So maybe you guide us through. But it's after we must have taken this report from Abiyakuta on the water situation there.
Challenges involved in the provision of water in Ogun State are enormous. The checklist include inadequate supply of electricity, inadequate funding, lack of technical manpower, unwillingness and or refusal to pay water bills by individuals and corporate organizations, to mention but a few.
Since we came on board, we have tried to evaluate the challenges and we are addressing them. Some of the challenges is the disruption of these pipes that are supplying the water, which we are also addressing, and the procurement of necessary equipment.
When the state started, we were a little over 2 million. That was in 1976, maybe a little over 1 million or 2. Now the state is over 7 million, and the rate of population growth is not commensurate with the level of investment that we have on ground. So we have a challenge of infrastructure, providing water. Areas like Isheri, Mowe, Bafo, we have quite a number of challenges in providing water for them because of that infrastructural gap.
Aside government, key players in providing potable water for the masses are Ogun River Basin Authority, NAFDAC, health officials, heritage water companies, and sachet water producers. These key players or stakeholders interplay to ensure safe, wholesome water for domestic and industrial uses in the state.
As we speak, there's a national action plan by the Federal Ministry of Water Resources on WASH. WASH is Water Sanitation and Hygiene Program of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources. We are keen into that in ensuring that not only that we bring water to the urban center, we also ensure that we bring water to the semi-urban and also the rural. For Ogun River Basin Development Authority, in the areas of ensuring that we have adequate raw water to treat at our treatment plants. They make that available to us, appropriately.
This dam was built for multipurpose uses, that is for agriculture, irrigation, for water supply, urban water supply, like I mentioned earlier, water release to Ogun State Water Corporation, and even further downstream for Lagos State Water Corporation. And then we have aquaculture. We produce bottled water and sachet water, which is very, very popular because everybody believes that our own products will be of the utmost quality, So, in fact, the demand is so high that our supply cannot meet the demand. So we even trying to expand the production capacity of this water plant within the Alice environment in Ogun State.
It's about how well the regulatory agencies are up and doing in ensuring that all such abuses are, arrested. Because it's bad enough that you are using well water. Then to now take that and go and sell to people is, it's unimaginable. We have NAFDAC, the NAFDAC people come. We have people from the Ministry of Health, and we also have the local government health officials. Those are the three basic regulatory agencies that come around, at least that have been to my own place.
With more support, collaborative efforts and easy access to fund or assistance from financial institutions as loans and aids to maximize the potentials of water in Nigeria, Ogun State could be a maker of salt for investors at home and abroad.
Welcome back. Our special guest is in the house. We have the man at the helm of the water in Nigeria. We have Honorable Suleiman Adamu, an engineer par excellence, and he'll be taking us on the conversation as far as water in Nigeria is concerned. Sir, once again, you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much.
Nigerians don't have water to drink. What is the challenge?
Well, first of all, per capita, Nigerians have more than enough water. Nigeria is not a water scarce country. It is called an economically water scarce country because water is an economic commodity. So the issue is there's excess water in some places and there's scarcity of water in certain areas, and the challenge is how to balance it, how to distribute in such a way, have an equitable distribution in such a way that everybody is able to get it. The minimum per capita requirement, that is, if you divide the amount of water resources we have by the population of the country, for any country, the minimum threshold is 1,000 cubic meters per person per year. In Nigeria, it is 1,800. So there's really no issue about availability of the water. It is the management of the water that is a problem. Now, people need to understand that water is on the concurrent list, but the responsibility for providing water in your taps rests squarely with state governments. That is why you don't see the federal government having a federal water board. The treating the water, distributing it, and so on is entirely the responsibility of the state governments and maybe the local governments for rural areas. That is how it is supposed to be. The federal government's responsibility is to deal with policy and also harness the water resources by way of providing bulk water so that the states can tap in. And that is why over the years you've seen a lot of dams and reservoirs having been built by the federal government to enable state governments to now abstract the water, treat it, distribute, and collect revenue also, recover the cost of providing that service. And by extension, even the abstraction from other reservoirs, the state governments are supposed to pay the federal government for that water, but it's not happening.
Okay, Honorable Minister, I'm sure we'll talk further about the dams in Nigeria, but now you mentioned policy. The federal government, has one way or the other developed several policies to ensuring that we have potable water supply in the country. And since independence, we have had different policies up until when you came in 2015. What has changed in terms of policy guideline?
Well, the truth of the matter is that post-independence, the governments then up to maybe the early 80s did quite well. And that's why you see the current facilities that exist for water supply are those that were built maybe 40, 50 years ago. What has happened is that, yes, water is very expensive. Water infrastructure is very expensive. So over time, states have not been investing. But we've been doing a lot in terms of policy. Always the challenge in this country in the last 30 years or so is translating these national policies to subnational level so that states take it, domesticate it, and implement. The people are not in Abuja. Abuja is a federal territory. It's a minimum number of people, 3 million, 4 million. We have a population of 200 million. Where are they? They are in the states and the local governments. So since 2015, when I came into office, the first thing I did was to ask, why has Nigeria not been able to meet the Millennium Development Goals target? We are supposed to have attained 75% coverage, providing access to water supply. We did it. We were about 68%. And I found out that the main reason is because we have been relying on budgetary allocations, and the budgets have been dwindling or epileptic over time. So it's difficult, for states to invest. So, and then we looked at the whole statistics and came up with new policies. First of all, we dusted the National Water Resources Policy, a new draft that was there. Yeah. We got it passed less than a year after I came into office in September 2016. That policy provides that federal government, first of all, the policy says water is an economic commodity and must be paid for. Secondly, that the federal government will be willing to support states in their urban water schemes with up to 30% of their investment, and federal government will be willing to support rural water supply projects by up to 50% contribution. So the federal government has demonstrated so much. Then we went ahead at the end of 2016. We said, okay, this 68% coverage that we had, still 50% of the rural population had no access, probably still has no access at that time. And then we came up with a new program. We called it Partnership for Expanded Water Supply, Sanitation and Hygiene. The idea behind that program is to provide incentive to the states. Okay. We're saying, okay, come up, if you bring X Naira, we'll give a matching X Naira. But we even made a provision for developing partners and even communities so that we all come together to support it. We even made provision to harness corporate social responsibility funds, donations from foundations and so on and so forth, so that it can be a holistic approach. And then we introduced, we decided, we put up a proposal to strengthen regulation, regulation of the water supply sector in such a way that we can attract private sector investment into it, because no investor will come if there is no strong regulation that would ensure that he's protected.
But who is going to, bring about regulation?
Well, it's a federal responsibility, but also states have their own laws where they are doing their own local regulations as well. For instance, corporatizing their water boards. For many years, federal government has been collecting, facilitating development funds from loans from World Bank, from African Development Bank, for the states to use for capacity building, for rehabilitation. As far back as 1994, 93, there was a national water rehabilitation project supported by the World Bank. Subsequently, we have national urban water sector reform project, which is also being funded by the World Bank. Some states are eligible, and the World Bank has been funding, and we have been coordinated. So there has been a lot of interventions going on.
But I'm thinking, with all these wonderful things, and there's still no water on our tables, I think there should be a state of emergency declared on the states. I'm thinking something more drastic.
Well, 2018.
I was coming to that.
Okay,
Part of the process. In 2017, we are going to Akure for the National Council of Water Resources meeting. And then this World Bank diagnostic report came out. And it showed that in 1992, 30% of the Nigerian population was enjoying pipe-borne water. But as of 2015, the number had dropped to 7%. So it was a very, very serious issue for us. And we even quickly changed the theme of the National Council of Water Resources meeting to discuss urban water, to discuss the crisis. After that, immediately after, we set up a joint technical team with the World Bank, and that was what led to us developing the new National Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Action Plan, which was launched by President Buhari on 8th November 2018, and in which he declared a state of emergency on the water sector. The wash sector in general, water, sanitation, hygiene, that's what we call the wash sector. And also proceeded to make a proclamation that any state that requires federal funding now must show a commitment that it is willing to spend money, to commit and invest money to provide water for its people. Then it can get support. Because what we realized is that certain states had virtually abdicated their responsibility, and they were only waiting for the annual federal government rural water supply program and so on. Or they will come maybe go to the president, get some quick intervention, and that is it. But we cannot continue like that.
I know, Honorable Minister, you will agree with me that we have several abundant water projects, scattered in different parts of the country. I was given an example of my local government earlier on, but Kaduna did something very interesting. It completed the second phase of Zaria Water Project, which of course a project that has been existing for over 20 years now. And I know that the federal government has actually committed itself to paying back, about 17 billion naira of that.
Well, there are certain examples of states that are doing a good job. Kaduna State is one, like you said, because in any case, government is a continuum. So you expect a government to come see a project that is going on and continue if it's of maximum benefit to the people. And I commend Kaduna State for that. And that's what we've been doing even in my ministry. We came, inherited 116 projects. Some of them had been abandoned. By the way, a project like Zobe Water Supply Project, Katsina, was started in 1992. It was never finished. We finished it this year as part of our own process, in the same spirit that Kaduna State was able to finish that project. And for that project in Kaduna, federal government built the Galma Dam as part of its own contribution. Yes, and I understand there's some discussion about certain refunds also to be made. But to tell you that we've been doing it, but it's about the political will of the government that is in power. Some governments state governments don't have any appreciation of the need to provide water for the people. If they don't think it's a priority, they prefer vanity, dualizing streets and putting street lights. Some states, we've done the projects, but they don't have the commitment even to manage the schemes. We commissioned, first project we commissioned in 2016 September, 6 billion naira water project to supply 13 communities in Bayelsa State. I went to commission that project. A year later, I sent your colleague and his crew, Musbao Dan Wahab, to say, go and check for us what is happening there. The place was under lock and key. And when we asked the question why, they said it's because that it's costing them 2 million naira a month to provide diesel and chemicals, and they can't afford it. I mean, look at what an investment. First of all, we've lost the investment, and 13 communities are deprived of water. So these are some, I'm sorry I have to say this, but I think it's high time that people understand that this issue should not be laid on the doorsteps of the Ministry of Water or the federal government, but people should be asking their states and local governments, what are they doing?
Well, I'm sure people are listening to you now, and then they're having these thoughts in their minds that it's high time we began to do exactly what you have, suggested that they should do. And let's go to Oyo State to see how other means of, how they are trying to address the water scarcity. There, after that, we'll continue with a discussion with the Honorable Minister.
Of all the needs of man, potable water is considered to be the most vital. This explains why the existence and survival of man depend largely on water for drinking, cooking, washing, and other domestic needs. Experts believe that human needs about 2 to 10 liters of water per day for normal physiological functions, depending on the climate and workload. Ibadan, like many other urban centers in Nigeria, is today faced with inadequate potable water supply. As one of the earliest beneficiaries of public water supply in Nigeria, accessibility to these vital life-saving resources is a mirage to many residents of Ibadan and other parts of Oyo State. The increase in population leading to continued expansion of the city over the years has brought about high demand for potable water. However, there is a huge deficit in the area of infrastructure required to meet the water needs of the populace. Obsolete and broken pipes are major impediment to availability of potable water in most areas where water infrastructure exists, especially in the ancient part of Ibadan.
The water will not come inside the house, but it will just flow inside the gutter. They said the pipe is not okay. Some of the pipe, they even cut it. They said until the people come and pay for the meter, That is then they will now connected them. So there's the water, the people are suffering for water in this area.
I am not aware of anywhere around the world where water is totally free, because the process of getting good potable water to people takes a lot. We're not trying to get every penny from our people, but we're trying to produce this water to them at the most reasonable cost.
The story is quite different in most recent developed or developing areas where public water infrastructure do not exist. In order to meet their water needs, many citizens have resorted to sinking of wells and boreholes. Even with this effort, some areas still do not have the required volume of water needed for daily use, as residents pay through their nose, especially during the dry season.
No water here, no water here, no water here, no water in that house. All this that is down here, we don't have water at all.
Those people that are still digging borehole, they still have problem about it. We look at that house levy, so they dig it 3 or 4 times before they can even get the water.
We can't have it now until when they relay all the pipes.
But the pressure and tension that comes with the search for water is presently subsided due to the current rainfall. Recently, the state government took a giant step to address the problem of inadequate potable water supply in the state.
I believe it's the threshold of history for the official commissioning of the newly rehabilitated and refurbished Ele Dam. We are putting in check with this project the perennial flood disaster in the city of Ibadan, and also a boosting supply of potable water to neighborhoods and communities in around the capital city here.
We know how important water is to the people. Without water, there are a lot of things that would be impediments to our sanitation process or even our health process. We understand this, and we're working really, really well with other ministries and other local agencies and the local governments to ensure that every part of the state, regardless of where the zone is, whether it's the Barakpa zone, is Ogun zone, or your Ogumosho, or even in Ibadan, we all have access to good potable water.
Hopefully, the situation will get better for the residents of Ibadan and other parts of Oyo State should the ongoing government intervention is holistically implemented such that potable water will be made available for the populace in abundance.
Just like every part of the nation, the Oyo people are also crying. Honorable Minister, sir, what is the situation in that state? Do you have any local information?
In Oyo?
Oyo.
Well, I wouldn't know.
Okay.
Because, like I said, it's a state affair. I know we have the Ikere Gorge Dam, which was built several years ago. I don't really know whether it's one of the sources of water there.
Okay.
So the point I will make is that the federal government over the last few decades has built like 240 dams all over the country for the states to now tap into, like I mentioned earlier, to provide water for the people. See, what's been happening, I've been saying there's a problem of political will and prioritization. Some states don't do that. And then some states or some administrations, they like to see projects that are finished within 4 years, because they are thinking of the next election.
Yes.
The issue of water is an organic thing. People die and people are born every day. The population is increasing. You cannot be, at this stage, yes, you need to maintain existing facilities. You need to be updating them, upgrading them from time to time. But you also need to be getting new sources and new facilities all the time. And that's why in the water sector, it's always important to have a long-term plan. You have, like in this country, what I used to know when I was working in a water agency was that we plan for 30 years. And then you now take phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1, 15 years, and the second phase, the next 15 years. And you start working, because a water project can take anything from 3, 5, 6, 7 years if you are funding it and you have the good contractor to do it. So within those 15 years, first 50 years, you already have a scheme that is adequate for the people. And then, before the end of that first 15 years, you would have already started working on the second phase. So that's how you keep going. Before the 30 years, then another plan is in place. You have identified new sources. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's not being done. Secondly, it's just like in the power sector. You cannot have a dam, a treatment plant, even a transmission line, and your distribution network, if it is faulty, then there's no way you'll be able to reach the people. So it's a holistic thing. You must do all these things together. While you are identifying new sources, you're also reinforcing the network. And don't forget that pipes also and fittings will deteriorate. There are leakages here and there. So you need to also be managing the distribution network itself. And metering, for you to get proper revenue, you need to meter, make sure that sometimes we apply flat rate. And all over the world, the tariff is such that the rich pay more, so they subsidize the poor. Yeah. All those things are there. But the management of the water industry is very, very poor. And one of the biggest dangers that we have today is that most of the people that really understood the water sector are retiring or have retired, and state water agencies are not making effort to build the capacity of new people. As a consultant, when I was in my private practice, there was a time we were looking for a mechanical engineer who is an expert in water, in water hydraulics. I mean, in the pumping systems and so on. We couldn't find in this country because there is no incentive for mechanical engineers to go into the water sector. They are not being paid well, and or they are not even employed. So there's a lot of problem associated with this, and it's important that state governments should really, this issue of declaration of a state of emergency is not a gimmick. They should understand there is a real crisis in the situation. I'm happy to know that about 16 states so far have made that declaration, and I'm looking forward to the remaining 20 states doing the same thing. And the declaration means also dealing with all the issues that we have laid out in the WASH Action Plan and making the necessary investment.
Okay, so some contributions here. I said, good morning, Honorable Mr. Star. Most states, governments are not serious about water. There is no water within Makurdi, despite the presence of the River Benue. Residents of Makurdi, major source of water is from vendors. Sir, what will you do for us? This is Tehemba from Makurdi.
You want me to answer?
Yes, it's for you, sir.
Okay. I've been associated with Makurdi Water since 1996 when we were doing the PTO program. First of all, we did a rehabilitation of the existing scheme at that time. And we did a design for 100,000 cubic meter water treatment plant designed by a German consulting firm. And I would have expected more than 20 years down the line, that plant should have been working by now. So at federal level, we have done our bit. I hope, and I recently I've seen a lot of traction in Benue State. Federal government cannot be everywhere. We cannot be in every city. But maybe the state government, if they're interested in meet all the requirements, we can facilitate for them to get probably a loan from some of the development institutions for them to upgrade the system. It's long overdue. It's so amazing. Many cities that are on the banks of our major rivers don't have water. It's so amazing.
Water everywhere, and to drink.
So those should be the ones that shouldn't have a problem. Is those that are the hinterland that should be requiring dams and so on and so forth. But it's not been happening. So we're discussing with the World Bank now on a $700 million investment to be competed by states, 6 states of the country. We want to create model cities because, as you know, everybody knows that there is not a single city in Nigeria today that has 100% coverage over 24 hours. Every city that you know, those water supply is epileptic. So we want to create model cities. Maybe through these funds we can get a city, invest money from source to treatment to transmission, and expand the distribution network so that everywhere will be covered. And maybe other states can see that as an example, but it has to be competed for. So I hope Benue State will win.
Well, from what you have said so far is the fact that the state government must show that willingness to actually get some of their system working before they can approach you for some form of assistance. And of course, your office is always open for any willing government at the state level. So there's an aspect I really want you to look into, aside, provision of potable water. I know we have other means we can engage water in. And just before we get there, let's go to Bauchi to see how they are tackling water challenge in the state.
There are some natural resources the human cannot survive without. Potable pipe-borne water is one of them. Hence, the saying that says water is life cannot be overemphasized.
You talk in relative terms, they do enjoy water supply, but that does not mean the situation is as ideal as we would want it to be, particularly because we have this upgrading of the facilities, and therefore there has been many disruptions. There have been many disruptions, but because people understood that it is meant to improve the facilities.
Water is such a scarce commodity in Bauchi metropolis, as taps are seen dry daily, which goes on for days or months, depending on the location.
And then the main reason that the water is not adequate is because of the rehabilitation and then the expansion work that it is ongoing. Because we have already exhausted the capacity of the treatment plant.
Some residents complained that even when the water is released into the metropolis in order to meet the demands of the people, it is alleged that the water is not potable. Worms and deaths are mostly seen in the water.
If the water is being treated outside, we'll be going out for sampling. We collect some portion of the water, we analyze. If it is within the acceptable range that is being accepted by Nigerian standard for drinking water quality, we will recommend the water for consumer uses.
Such residents depend on well water, borehole, hand pump water, and rain water, which fortunately is the season.
Some other places are enjoying it, but some of places are not enjoying it. Normally they are getting water from the borehole. Some are using well water. Some are using, like now we are in the rain season, some are using the rainwater.
Successive administration in the state have also done their best in order to address the issue. But with the government of Governor Bala Abdulkadir Mohammed's government, the government is working tirelessly to increase the volume of potable water supply in the state.
We are here to do two projects here. One is a rehabilitation project of the conventional treatment plant. Second is the expansion project of the conventional treatment plant.
Launching a project in collaboration with World Bank to rehabilitate and extend drinking water installations in several locations in the state. These include building huge reservoirs at Warinji, Oluseye, and rehabilitating Gubi Dam, where it is the main source of water in the state.
We are also expanding the plant from 45,000 cubic meter per day to 75,000 cubic meter per day. Both the projects are going parallel. One is about 1.482 billion naira. Another one is 1.328 billion naira. They are all World Bank funded projects.
Engineer Aliu Gital is the managing director, Bauchi Water Board. While tracing the history of water problem in Bauchi metropolis, says that
Now repairing. The system has been for quite some time without much repair. In fact, the last big or major expansion was in 1991 to 1992. So we are talking of about 28 years ago. And the facility was and is only able to supply about 45 million cubic meters. Now the metropolis has outgrown the supply.
it is with this hope that the project will ensure the residents of Bauchi metropolis enjoy potable and sustainable water supply in the state when completed come December 2020.
Well, there you have it. We are caught having some chit-chat with the Honorable Minister. Now, Patience, I know you have series of messages coming from different parts of the world, the country. So, can you take a few?
Okay, let me just take this particular one. They say, Honorable Minister, sir, you mentioned the private sector participation in water sector. However, in my opinion, if you allow private sector to participate, profit motive will be higher than the public interest. From Baba S. Goni in Maiduguri.
Well, I don't understand what you mean by public interest, beyond the fact that you need good drinking water. I think that's the bottom line. So all the money that we are spending on phone credit now, and the mobile operators are smiling all their way to the bank. What is more important? And if people don't have economic sense in this country, the amount of money you're spending, just take sit down, pause, and calculate the amount of money you're spending on this push card, the money they are buying from the popular Mirua. Add up the numbers in a month. Compare to if you had a running water from water board and they're charging you 1,000 a month. People don't want to pay for the water because they think it's government, so it should be free. It's not supposed to be so. You probably, on average, Nigerians now spend more money talking on phone, with credit, buying credit, than paying for water to a municipal water scheme. And then they end up, because they still have to use the water, they buy from water vendors, and they don't understand, they don't appreciate how much they are spending. If you add up, if you are spending 200 naira a day, how much do you spend in 30 days? Compared to if you are just to get a meter, control the amount of water you use, and at the end of the day, maybe you may end up paying half of that. So which is more priority to you? Phone credit or telephone? Or water? The reason why we need the private sector is we need additional investment. Government does not have the resources. I know the state governments, many don't have the resources. And water infrastructure, I said at the beginning, is very, very expensive. The reason why we were able to do most of the things we did in terms of provision of water infrastructure over the years was because our currency was strong. Because we were importing, and maybe the naira was stronger than the dollar. I know the moment we went into this floating naira, that is when things started to go haywire.
Okay, Honorable Minister, it's interesting that we're having this conversation, but some will say that, okay, now we have achieved some level of success in the rail sector, and water transportation is something we can actually explore in Nigeria, aside, of course, making water available for people to drink. Now, in Venice, we have a peculiar situation there, in also Panama Canal, where water is used for other purposes that can drive the economy of the nation.
Well, you're right, but I think first things first. We're thirsty. Let's have enough to drink first. But the truth is, Nigeria, in the creeks and maybe some areas of the southwest, you have some inland navigable inland waterways that can be harnessed. I can tell you, but the major inland waterways we have are rivers Niger and Benue. And for several years before, you could take a steamboat, from Lokoja all the way to Garwa in Cameroon, and at least we used to have barges up to Baro in Niger State on the River Niger side. But over time, River Niger, for instance, is a very funny river. It passes through the Sahara Desert, so it carries a lot of sediment, and if you want to dredge it for navigation, you have to be doing it continuously every year, and it's a very costly venture. And then you have to, some of this is we need to start putting some economic sense into what we're doing. If you spend 20 billion naira a year every year to dredge River Niger, how much are you getting in terms of revenue, from the traffic? To be able to pay for it. So if you are not able to pay for it, then that's why you get a disconnect at some point, and then you are not able to continue with the process. So as custodians of the water resources of the country, we looked at the situation, and we, from an engineering point of view, and that's my honest opinion, we need to do a lot of work on these rivers, especially Niger and Benue, in terms of, doing real river studies. And we're trying to do that. We're working, trying to get some support from the Hungarian government, which has been able to tame the Danube River over 100 years ago. They have the expertise, and they came to us and said, look, we can do something on River Niger and River Benue. So the idea is we can find a way to widen the channel, protect the banks, reclaim land for irrigation, for tourism, and then on this economic movement of goods also can be, because you can have a proper navigable channel. That's what we call river training. These are engineering works that need to be done within the rivers to check sedimentation and to ensure that there's smooth flow in the river. But what we are doing, I hope, in this administration is we are going to set the pace to start the master plan studies. But this kind of engineering endeavor takes years. It can take 20 years, 30 years. You're working in segment because these rivers are very long. But at least let us start something.
Okay, quickly, let's talk about the boreholes. Everybody is digging a borehole. What is the effect of this on our?
It's a nightmare. I think this proliferation of boreholes is honestly a nightmare. It doesn't make sense. For instance, you see an estate, and everybody, maybe 900 square meters of a plot of land, and on every plot you see a borehole. You don't know that when you start your borehole, this one starts his borehole. That's what we call interference. So you are actually not getting what you need. So even if you need to, you should kind of have a sense of community, so that you're able to build a borehole and you can all share. But when everybody wants to have his own. But especially in urban centers, I'm very much against proliferation of boreholes, and I would prefer to see where that municipal schemes are expanded and made to work so that water is able to get to every house.
Okay, Honorable Minister, we don't seem to have much time on our time.
More questions
on our side. WASH action plan, where the president declared a state of emergency, it has 2030, a target.
Yes.
Are we going to achieve it?
Well, I'm hopeful. We're still, like I said, now we have 16 states that have joined the president in making a declaration of emergency in their states. We're working, World Bank in particular is very, very keen to support us in this, but it's still a drop in the ocean. What is important is that states must have their own plans and follow them religiously, and hopefully successive governments will continue with these plans. If we're able to do that and they make the right investment, we can get there. Because people should not be looking at water as something that this is a 4-year thing, or I want this water tomorrow. It's something that is going to take time. And that's why even our roadmap, when I came into office, we built it, we prepared a 15-year roadmap. Because I know that whatever we start, there's just no way we can finish it. Because this is supposed to be a continuous process. I believe for the rural areas, we can get there. If the tempo of the POS program continues, by next week, I think we're going to announce the commencement of the POS program in 10 states. And the plan we have is that we're going to take 3 local governments, and the state governments that are participating will take 3 local governments, and will address all the water issues of those local governments. So by the time we finish, we have 6 local governments in the state that have 100% access. So at least we're working on that. But for the urban schemes, I would encourage the states to do more. For 3 years running, we created a new budget line in the budget of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources to support states with urban, for urban water scheme, that we're ready to provide that 30% support. But I can tell you, I think only one state has so far.
So you have over 500 messages here. Somebody is talking about irrigation. And talking about water for, hey God,
well,
no time.
Certainly, if we are going to take this question, I'm sure we'll keep you from now till
tomorrow.
Well, water is a very important thing.
Yes. That's why people are responding quite well. But we have to close the conversation here. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for this wonderful time. At least you have broadened the scope as far as a provision of water supply is in the country.